Are you feeling a little bit lost or maybe a bit stuck today? And you're like, what am I doing wrong? How do I move forward? Well, today I'm going to talk about the value of systems. And if you stay until the very end, I have an extra point for you then as well. And if you want to keep up to date of all my latest content and be connected with me, then I will leave my social media links in the show notes below. Well, I was thinking about this point, systems, earlier when I was doing a bit of project management work, a bit of my sales sort of management work, and yeah, looking at it and thinking it was going well. And I was like, wow, I've got a really good system. And then I started to think about this in relation to my emotions and mental health. And mental health's kind of been an up and down thing for me. Well, I'm a human being, of course it has. That's probably a bit of an obvious statement. Yeah, there have been times when it's been really low for me as a man. And then I started looking at the systems I had in place then. And they were not the ideal systems that I would have put in place to feel good, right? And sometimes that's because things happen and we just don't consciously pay attention to what we're doing. And what I've learned, what I've observed, and this is kind of my own understanding from myself and speaking to other guys, is that we've all got systems in life. Yet our systems may not serve us. So, for example, you may want to feel, and as silly as this example sounds, bear with me, you may want to feel like really happy, joyful, and excited, right? If you're a human being, you probably do, because we all want to feel like that the majority of the time, right? Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, because, you know, life comes in and it'd be quite boring if we're just happy all the time, right? There's going to be a mix of things. Yeah, that may be your target. Yet what you find yourself doing is listening to something that's not feeding you, making you feel very good, hanging out with people who don't make you feel good, maybe eating food that makes you feel bad. That's a system you've got in place. But consciously, you might not have chosen it. You probably haven't chosen it. And that system's making you feel rubbish. So what I'm talking about today is paying attention to your emotional systems, the systems you've got in place to feel certain emotions, becoming consciously aware of them and therefore being able to change them for the better. And I know for me, for example, a system that makes me feel good is going for a walk with a coffee in hand and listening to some personal growth. I was doing that this morning. I was listening to a guy I'm going to be speaking to about potential coaching, going to be coaching me potentially. And I was listening to his podcast, feeling really good. And I was having a coffee, and I know that's a thing that makes me feel good. So that's why I scheduled it in. And then there were one or two things like I that came in my way that were challenges. And what I did is I used my system to regulate my emotions when they get more challenging. And to be really clear, that's not me suppressing the emotion saying, I'm not going to feel bad, I'm just going to feel good. It's about allowing myself to feel the emotions, the challenging ones, so that I'm not pushing them away, but I'm allowing them to go through my body and then reframe the meanings of them. So I really wanted to talk about systems for you because I think it's something that I've certainly seen overlooked at many times. And it's very easy in a busy world when actually systems are what, for me, make us successful in anything, whether that is financially, relationships, health, or our emotions as we're talking. Setting up systems for success. Now, again, you're not going to get 100% the results you want all the time. Yet if you've got the right system in place, I believe you're going to have the result more often than not. And I'll ask you this, how does it help being stuck in maybe a loop of, right, I'm feeling rubbish here, I'm rubbish there, and then actually you start looking at what are the things you're doing over and over again that you've got in place, and you're like, actually, that's not a very good system. And when I talk about systems, I'm talking about like the habits you got in place, the routines, and the things you've got scheduled. Okay, so here is some guidance, and it's really going to be a bunch of questions that I want you to go away and answer yourself. right? And do make sure you go through this. Don't just listen to me go, oh, I'm inspired today and do nothing, because nothing's going to change. That's a bad system. Right. So the first question I want you to ask yourself, because I'm not going to tell you what the right system is for you, only you know that. I'm just here to guide you, right? Number one, what is your outcome and why? Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to feel? Like, and if it's not just like your mental health, your emotions, what is it you want, like in your finances? What is it you want in your relationships? All kinds. What is it what you want in your health, right? What is your outcome? Like, and be more specific as possible, right? So you want to feel like 10 out of 10 energy the majority of the time. You want to feel like excited waking up each day, like 10 out of 10. Great. Okay. Why is that? Well, because I really want to feel great in my life so I can be a good impact to other people, an example to my kids, maybe to my friends, and really be that example and feel like life is really meaningful. Great. You got your outcome and why. That's just an example there. The next thing, the question is, what's going to be a good system for you? So, for example, like you hear all these things like people put in, and a morning routine is a type of system, right? You hear people say, right, meditate for 20 minutes each morning, like exercise for an hour, all these kind of things, and then we get really confused. What is it for us? I want you to ask yourself this: what is a good system for you and you only, right? So, is it that you like to go for a walk? Like, what can you put in place to make you feel good more often than not? And then the next question: what is a bad system for you? What are the things that are going to take you away from your outcome, right? So maybe it's I've been guilty of this and working on it a lot. Scrolling too much on social media. Maybe it's listening to the news, a classic one, or something where you go through day to day and you do it. And it doesn't make you feel good. By consciously becoming aware of a lot of our unconscious on what's the word I'm looking, autopilot mode, when we're not looking at what we're doing, we sometimes get carried with the day to day. So we're bringing up here, what is a bad system, so you can do less of it. And then the fourth question: how can I implement this? Right? How are you going to implement this? And then just do maybe one thing for the good and one thing for the bad systems, right? So one thing for the good. So like maybe you like going for a walk and you don't do it, and that's really good for your mental health. So therefore, you make sure you've got some kind of system where you're ready to get up, ready to get going. You've got your clothes, and you go for a 20-minute walk each morning, right? A bad system, maybe you get like your mental health gets impacted when you're looking at too much social media. So maybe you put your phone in a lockbox. Maybe you put app restrictions. I said the lockbox one first because I know app restrictions, people just jump through it anyway. I've certainly been guilty of that. So ask yourself how you can implement it. Okay, final point. Just before I get onto that though, I want to mention again that if you want to keep up to date with all my work and connect with me, then you can find me on social media. I will leave my links in the show notes below. My final point that I really want to invite you to ask as a bit of guidance, ask yourself as a bit of guidance: who has got a result in what I want? Like maybe you know someone who's really happy, really joyful, and that's what you want. What systems do they have in place? Well, maybe they say good morning to people. Maybe they say hello to people. Right? Maybe they do something for charity. Maybe they just look after their body. They look after their health. Maybe they only talk about positive things. Look at the things that they're doing and then think, how can I perhaps try and experiment with some of these things as well? So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people in your life by working on yourself as a man. And remember, lead with your heart and not with fear.